What's up, people? I'm Shaggy, the opinionated hippie, and this is part 17, part 18, and part 19 of my ranking and reviewing the guitar solos within the context of a Frank Zappa album. So this is a weird little entry because I'm doing 3 albums because I've actually already discussed all of the guitar solos on these 3 albums, except for one of them. We'll get to in a second. On the previous Zappa solos ranked video, the Roxy Performances. The Roxy Performances contain both shows of both public dates. So the 2 shows from the 9th of December, 73, 2 shows of the 10th of December, 73, the show from the sound check, the private invite only show from the 8th, plus rehearsals. All of that material is there. Pretty affordable too, out there on Zappa.com or on Amazon. It's a pretty inexpensive release for all of those shows. But prior to releasing that, there were 3 other releases that focused on Roxy, the Roxy shows of 73. There was the original Roxy and Elsewhere, which was pretty much 3 sides of Roxy, and then the 4th side. The 3rd side contained material from shows in 1974, the spring tour, the Mother's 10th anniversary tour. Not the entirety of side 3, but 2 of the tracks on side 3 were from that tour, and they have solos, and I will get to those when I get to Roxy and Elsewhere. There was also a release called Roxy the Soundtrack, self-explanatory, and there was another release called Roxy by Proxy, which was no overdubs. Again, I think the first release after Roxy and Elsewhere, because Roxy and Elsewhere had overdubs on the Roxy material. So Roxy by Proxy was the first time we got the material without overdubs, and then we got Roxy the Soundtrack, and then eventually we got Roxy Performances. So there's 3 other releases. How would those other 3 releases rank in order? Well, by guitar solos only. I'm not looking at the songs. I'm not looking at anything else. Just looking at the guitar solos. Of those 4 releases, I'm going to just briefly mention where I would put Roxy. Of those 3 releases, the least successful of them is that one. That is Roxy the Soundtrack. There are 1, 2, 3, kind of 4 solos on here. You got a Cosmic Debris solo, which I think is by far the best thing on here. You get a Penguin in Bondage. You get a Redunzel. None of those are all that interesting on any of these shows. There's interesting moments, but I don't think there are better Penguin solos. There are better Redunzo solos on almost any tour that those songs were played on, it seemed like. And then you get kind of a jam at the end of Bebop Tango, where the energy's getting up and Frank's playing stuff. So, yeah. So, again, the Cosmic Debris, I think, is by far the most interesting on here. But they're just not much to it as far as guitar solos go. That would be the least interesting of them. The second least interesting of them would be the Roxy by Proxy, which does have 2 pretty good guitar solos. You get another Penguin in Bondage, you get another Redunzel guitar solo, you get Dupree's Paradise, which is actually quite interesting, quite interesting and quite excellent. And of the 2 Dupree's Paradise performed at this run, I think it is the more interesting of the 2. So you get the better of the 2 versions, which was the December 9th early show version. And then you get a Chunga's Revenge solo, which was pretty interesting. Not great. Much better Chunga's Revenge solos out there, but at least it's a Chunga's. It's kind of playful. It doesn't really go anywhere. But I don't know, kind of interesting. But that Dupree's Paradise, I think, is by far the best solo on both Roxy the Soundtrack and Roxy by Proxy, and that's why Roxy the Proxy, I think, guitar solo-wise, is a better release than Roxy the Soundtrack. And of these 3, by far the best, easily, is Roxy and Elsewhere. And it's not because of the 73 Roxy solos, though if we only included the 73 Roxy solos, there's a Penguin in Bondage solo. It is the best Penguin in Bondage solo from the entire run. I'm pretty sure it's the one from the Soundcheck show on the 8th. By far the best Penguin solo of that entire run, including the rehearsals. You get part of the Don't You Ever Wash That Thing solo jam at the end of Don't You Ever Wash That Thing. So that's awesome. One of the better moments. I think this is a edited version of that solo. The entire thing is definitely shortened, but really good energy, really fun performance. You get a little bit of a jam, some just riffing at the end of Bebop Tango. That's kind of no big deal. But you get two absolutely fantastic solos from May 8th, 1974, that 10th anniversary Mother's Tour. You get a Son of Orange County solo, which is the best solo on this release by far. Absolutely fantastic, kind of different prog flavors, a very forceful, very determined, very just like the difference between his attack style, his tone, his energy. The drummers seem to have figured out how to we got two drummers, both in 73 and here, Chester Thompson and Ralph Humphrey. They seem to have figured out how to play, where now I think a little more of Thompson's kind of weird support style is kind of dominating. And so you get a little bit of more of that weird, funky weirdness that Thompson would bring so well in a Fall 74. And then Son of Orange County goes into More Trouble Every Day, in which we get another absolutely amazing solo. I don't think it's quite as epic as the Son of Orange County solo, but it's got some really interesting moments. Maybe takes a while to get really the momentum going, but once that momentum gets going, just sounds great. Again, the two drummers sound great. The band sounds great. But the Son of Orange County solo and the More Trouble Every Day solo, which are 74 solos, definitely elevate the Roxy and Elsewhere release to the best of these as far as guitar solos go. Where would I rank these albums in the totality of all of them based on guitar solos only? Yeah, there they are right there. I have the three of the Roxy, the ones that only focus on the Roxy solos at the bottom. Roxy soundtrack, Roxy by Proxy, probably the least interesting of all the Frank Zappa releases guitar solo-wise. Roxy Performances, even though there are a lot of solos on there, I ranked it higher than the other two, even though statistically, if you were to rank them, which I did, and numerically assign a value to each solo, the Roxy Performances, the sort of combination of all the scores is slightly lower than both Roxy by Proxy and Roxy in the soundtrack. But I do think the number of solos and the totality of the solos and just sort of that elevates it a little higher for me. Plus, you get both Dupree's Paradises on the Roxy Performances, and you're lacking one of the Dupree's on those other Roxys. So I had to put it above that. But then if you jump all the way up to number 11, Roxy and Elsewhere jumps all the way up to number 11, and that's pretty much on the strength of those 74 solos. I mean, those 74 solos, and to some extent that Don't You Ever Wash That Thing jam, kind of bump it up a little bit higher, make it a little more interesting. Especially over the Penguin Embodied solo. Again, he picked the best Penguin Embodied solo. So the Roxy and Elsewhere definitely jumps up there. But, if you'll notice, 4 of the bottom 5 are all Fall 73 related solos. So not a very good tour for guitar solos. I will wrap that up with one more just pointless video for some reason about 73. But yeah, kind of ranking all the solos. So yeah, I guess I will do that. But anyways, that's it. Those are my thoughts. I think 73 was Fall 73 was a pretty disappointing tour as far as Frank Zappa's guitar solos go. It's definitely not the selling point for the tour. It's the band, it's the songs, it's some of the arrangements, it's the fun energy that pervades, I think, throughout that tour. But it's definitely not the guitar solos. But anyways, yeah. Those are my thoughts on 73, on the Roxy shows, on all that kind of stuff. Let me know what you think. Listen to these. Go listen. If you want to check these out, go listen to the Dupree's Paradise performances. I think those are by far the best guitar solos. That and the Big Swifty. There's a Big Swifty, which got released on Stage 1. The I'm the Slime Big Swifty combination on Stage 1 are from the Roxy shows. Those are also, would have made all of these releases better had those been included. But they were not. So anyways, that's it. That's all I got. Thanks for watching. Comment, subscribe, like, and all that kind of stuff. You know how it works, people. Peace. Thanks. Talk to you later.